Welcome everybody. My name is Tyler Garnes. I'm the founder and CEO here at Box Out Marketing, and this month's global user group meeting topic is how to leverage your Infusionsoft data to plan for 2017. And I'd like to actually make an edit to that on the fly here and say, let's call it how to leverage your Infusionsoft data to grow in 2017, to double your sales in 2017. This day and age, it's all about data. Data is the most powerful thing that you can leverage in Infusionsoft to actually grow your business. So do me a favor as we get started here. Hop into the questions box in GoToWebinar and say hi. Let me know who you are, where you're chiming in from, and what you're hoping to get out of this webinar. I've got some great things to share, but I'm also leaving a fair amount of time at the end for questions. Anytime I've covered this topic in the past, people have questions about their particular business. They might understand the examples that I show. They might understand the concepts that I teach, but then when they look at it in their own business, they say, well, maybe that doesn't quite jive. How is this going to work for me? So I want to make sure we leave a lot of time for that kind of stuff, and I want to make sure that I understand who you are and what you're trying to get out of this so that we can have a great time together here. So just a couple of housekeeping items. You're all on mute, but I want this to be very interactive, so please jump into the questions box, ask your questions there. I'll address them if I see them and they're relevant to what I'm talking about at the moment, but if I don't get to it on the fly, don't worry, I will get to all the questions at the end. Okay, and then also, yes, this is being recorded, but let's get real here. Are you actually going to come back and watch a recording? If you're like me, probably not. So I'd suggest you're sitting down at your computer now. You've probably got a million things going on. I understand the urge to check your email and be working on things during the webinar. I also understand that other things might pop up and you're going to be tempted to say, oh, let me get off this webinar and go handle that thing. Look, shut it all down. Shut down your email. Close your door. Let's focus. We'll make this quick but powerful and help you to take one more step towards getting the most out of Infusionsoft, which is an extremely powerful tool to help you grow your business. So you probably saw the email that I sent you that talked about this experience that I had up in the central coast of California. And this is actually the place. This is a Google Maps shot of where this was. So the name of the location, as surfers would call it hazards, but maybe that should have been a clue that this wasn't the smartest thing. On an average day, it's not that hazardous. Can be kind of a shallow reef, but there's a Hazard Canyon right there. The reef is called Hazard Canyon Reef, and it can be a pretty good place to surf. So I had been tracking this swell for a little while, and if you're familiar with the way the oceans work, swells or big waves are generated from storms typically thousands of miles away. So there might be a storm up off the Aleutian Islands, and that storm up there will send waves to us in California a few days later. So we can forecast those waves by a few days by looking at the storms and the storm patterns and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, this swell was scheduled to arrive early morning. I got up really early that morning when it was dark, drove out to Hazards and got out of my car, and it just happened to be super foggy. So I couldn't quite tell from the beach how big it really was out there. But as you can see over here on this kind of bottom part of the screen, there's a deep water channel right here. So you can hop in the water and paddle through this deep water channel and successfully get out to the break without really putting yourself in danger. And so that was my plan. My plan was to paddle out through the channel and get out over here and then kind of sit off to the side over here in a deep area where it's safe and just watch the waves break across the reef and then kind of slowly move into an area where I could catch a shoulder there and safely catch a wave. So as I paddled through the channel, the first sign that something was going to go wrong was that the waves were breaking across this channel. So the waves were big enough to be breaking in that deep water channel, which is a little bit scary. for me as I paddled through there. But I thought, hey, I'll get through the channel and we'll get out there. So I get out here and I paddle out to about this point. Hopefully you can see where my mouse is. I get out to about this point and I figure, okay, I'm just going to sit off to the side and everything will be good. The problem is this fog had rolled in, and the fog was so thick that I couldn't see the shore. And so therefore I couldn't tell exactly where I was at. I didn't know if I was right here off to the side of the break, or if I was right in front of the break, or if I had drifted beyond it. I just didn't know. And when you have no point of reference in the ocean, you literally are clueless. You have no idea where you're at. For all I know, I could have been out, in the ocean by Hawaii. You can't see a thing. And so what had happened is the current pushed me away from the place where I thought I was, and right in front of the reef, and right into essentially what we call the impact zone. And I sat there for a few minutes, just waiting, and then all of a sudden this massive set of waves came and literally just destroyed me. It's probably been about the closest I've ever come to drowning, to actually dying. I was scared out of my mind, praying my guts out that I would survive. Ended up drifting more further north and got washed up on the beach there. So anyways, that is a perfect illustration of when you don't have a reference point, when you don't know where you're at, you put yourself in serious danger. And in your business, if you're not watching the data closely and you don't know where you're at, where you've been, where you're at, where you're going, then you're going to be in big time trouble. A lot of people operate this way. We bring on clients all the time where I ask them for some of this simple data and they just don't have it. And I just wonder, how in the world are you even in business? I mean, it must just be really, really scary. I remember sitting there out in front of that reef, not knowing where I was and being scared and knowing, shoot, I don't know if I'm in the right spot or not. And if you're running your business like that, it's a daily fear that you have to live with because you don't know really what's going on. So that's what we're going to attempt to correct here today. Even if you get something so basic like this little spreadsheet, this is something I threw together in a few minutes yesterday or the day before for one of our clients to just say, hey, look, here are the things you need to be looking at. You need to know how many visitors are coming to your website, how many are opting in and become leads, how many request demos, how many attend the webinar, how many sales from the webinar, how many sales from the demo, how many new members each month, how many canceled members, how many total members at the beginning of the month. Basic stats. But if you know this stuff, then you know where you're at and you know what you need to do to move forward, because you can identify bottlenecks. You can say, oh, well, look, everything in our funnel looks like it's working great, except for the webinar conversion is terrible. So let's focus our efforts there. So you need to end up with some type of simple system to track what you're looking at in your business, track how your business is doing. I like to compare it to travel. So this is apparently the city of Birmingham. Let's say you live in Birmingham, and in fact you live in Bloomsbury, which I guess is a neighborhood or a suburb of Birmingham. And let's say you need to meet someone at Summerfield Park across the city. Well, the last thing you would do is just hop in your car and start driving and not know where you're going and what you're doing and how you're going to get there. You would never just go drive without some directions, without a map, without some idea of where you're going, what roads to take. Let's just say you did have that map though and you knew where you're going. There's some other key pieces of information you've got to know as you drive. You need to know the speed limit and how you compare to that speed limit. You need to know how much gas you have and is it enough to get to where you're going. You need to know your gas mileage. You need to know your tire pressure, or at least make sure it's not getting low. You need to know your engine temperature and your oil pressure and all these things that are on your dashboard. Those are key indicators that tell you that yes, you're going in the right direction. Yes, you're going at the right speed. Yes, you're going to safely get there. You're not going to run out of gas before you get there, or your tires aren't going to go flat before you get there. All those things are important. If you never saw any of that stuff and you didn't maintain your car, the car would break down and you would not make it to your destination. So let's take a high level look at your stats. We'll do a key stats breakdown. Your stats or your data that you're looking at in Infusionsoft, and Google Analytics, I'd say kind of pull those together, and then any other third-party systems that carry important data. There are three main categories of data you should be looking at. First, where you've been. So your historical information. If you're not tracking historically what's going on in your business, then When you look at what's going on today, you have no idea. Is that good? Is it better? Is it bad? Is the business going to go under tomorrow? You just don't know because you don't know where you've been. So you need to first track where you've been. You need to then be looking at where you are currently, and then next where you're going. Okay? If you bucket your data into those three areas and you have the key stats in each of those three areas nailed down, then you'll have a great idea of what you're doing that's working, what you need to do next to move forward, and how quickly you can get to your goals. So you've got to have these three things dialed in on your Infusionsoft dashboard, and then maybe supplemented by some other system, maybe even a spreadsheet. So let's talk about them each real quickly. Where you've been. If you're looking at where you've been, you can identify trends, right? You can know, hey, things are looking up, things are looking down. You can also identify what worked well and what didn't work. You can annotate changes. So if you've got a spreadsheet and each month you're tracking leads and you can see, hey, there was a big spike of leads this month and a big dip in leads the following month, then you can know why, because you'll make a little note there and say, oh, here's when we had an affiliate promotion, or on this month was Christmas and I took 3 weeks off, and so sales went down or leads went down, right? And so if you annotate those things, then you can account for them, which will tell you, hey, this change in the stats is not important. It's negligible. I went on vacation, big deal. But this other change where we had a big spike because of an affiliate promotion, that was helpful. Maybe we should do more of that or figure out how to leverage those partnerships better. Or maybe it was a new ad campaign that you ran and it worked really well. So you've got to be looking at where you've gone to identify these trends and know what's working and what's not working. So here's a screenshot from one of our clients where we can see that they're chugging along here from March, April, May, June, July, pretty steady rate there. And then we made a pretty significant change in late July or early August, I can't remember which, and essentially doubled sales overnight. And then you can see it's kind of chugging along there. And then we made another change, it looks like, or I think it might just be some of the kind of follow-on effect of the change we made earlier. And now it's bumping up again. And so these are the types of things you can see when you look at historical data, and you're going to want to make notes about why you have big increases or big dips along the way. Okay? All right, next bucket here is where you are currently. So this will tell you how you're progressing on your goals, which is probably the most important thing. And it'll also allow you to adapt quickly. So we're on the first day of a month right now, right? February 1st. And as we look at data in these first few days, we can start to identify, are we on track to hit our goal for the month? Whether it's, traffic or leads or sales or, affiliate sales or whatever it is that we're trying to look at, we can look at the current data and know, hey, we're on track or we're not on track. And if we're not on track, then we can adapt quickly. We can also identify what's holding us back. We can identify those bottlenecks. So if we're looking at that kind of spreadsheet view that I showed you earlier that has the whole funnel, then we might see, hey, look, our leads are good. Our webinar registrations are good, but web demos are way down, and therefore sales are way down. And so we identify there that, hey, look, our traffic's fine, our leads are fine, all that stuff is good, but the bottleneck is the web demo. So what's going on there? What can we do to adjust right now on the fly to get that back on track, right? Also, one of the things that I think is most important about knowing where you are currently is it eases your mind. Remember I talked about being out there in the ocean and not being able to see the shore? Well, that creates some anxiety. And in your business, when you can't see what's going on, the anxiety just increases every day. You've got to be able to just ease your mind, put all that stuff aside, and know, okay, even if the numbers are bad, that's okay. That's better than not knowing at all. Because when the numbers are bad, you can make a plan. You can actually act on what's wrong. But if you don't know, then there's just anxiety. All right, third bucket, where you're going. You need to be able to forecast future revenue. This is one of the most important things that a CEO needs to look at, is they need to be able to forecast future revenue. Why? Because if you're growing your business, you're going to need to scale your team. You're going to need to hire people. You're going to be able to you need to employ more resources. You need to, get new office space, whatever it is. Your expenses need to increase. How do you know if you can handle those expenses if you can't forecast the revenue going in? You have to know how to forecast your future revenue. If not, then you're going to be continually spinning your wheels. Well, how do I get to the next level? When do I hire that person? How can I hire that person to move my business forward? You'll never know. You'll be guessing. Okay. And when you're looking at where you're going, you can forecast as well dips in revenue, and you can make adjustments accordingly. Say you know that there's going to be a month or two up ahead, they're going to be a little rough. Well, in the better months, you might save some money in savings, put some things aside. You might also ramp up a marketing campaign or put together an offer campaign for that, designed for that time to try and prevent the dip in revenue, right? You can also forecast unexpected increases in revenue. I guess they would be expected if you can forecast it, right? But you can forecast those expected increases in revenue and make adjustments accordingly. So sometimes when we have a really, really good month coming up, we might hold back on sales in the current month to allow our fulfillment team to not get totally swamped. Or we might start to tell clients or future clients, hey, look, we can take you on as a client, but we're not going to be able to start your project for another week or two. And so that way we can spread out the workload for our team a little bit, and we can adjust accordingly as business comes in. All right, so again, back to our map analogy. If we know where we're at and where we've been, and we know where we're going, then it's really pretty easy. We can just follow the map and we get to our destination, no problem. But without all of that, we're really just lost. So why do we need to know all this stuff? Well, if you're like me, you want to grow your business, and you want to grow it as fast as possible because you want to get to your personal goals, you want to get to your business goals and whatever, and most of us aren't very patient, so we'd rather get there sooner than later. And so let's take a look at the 4 fundamental ways to grow your business, because this should guide essentially the stats that we're looking at and the data that we're pulling on a daily basis. So first, if all else stays the same and you increase traffic, then you're going to increase your sales, right? Also, if all else stays the same and you increase your leads, then you're going to grow your business. And if all else stays the same and you increase your sales, then obviously you can increase your revenue, you're going to grow your business. And then also you can increase your transaction amount. So now I know just as well as you know that increasing traffic doesn't always equate to increasing sales, because the traffic might be less quality or whatever. Increasing leads, same thing. You might double your leads, but only have a slight increase in sales because the leads might be lower quality. I fully understand that. But those are the 4 fundamental ways to grow your business. Those are the 4 fundamental things to focus on when you're trying to increase revenue to grow the business. So you've got to have some measurements around these to know if you're moving forward on each of them. So let's move into, now that we've covered kind of the conceptual ideas here, how to build the perfect Infusionsoft dashboard. So first, you need to identify your key metrics. And every business is a little bit different here, but I'm going to walk you through a few examples that should apply to just about everybody. So you need to identify your key metrics. If you're a service-based business, that's going to look a little bit different than maybe a SaaS company, a software as a service company that has recurring revenue functionality. And that's going to look a little bit different than a retail company that is just selling widgets online, right? So your key stats are going to vary just a little bit, but you'll get the idea here. All right, once you've identified those, you need to get into Infusionsoft and create saved searches and reports around these things. And if you're not sure how to do that yet, don't worry, I'm going to show you. But I would also say, if you're not sure how to do that yet, this is like the most important thing you've got to go figure out how to do. I'm going to show you the basics here, and then you've got to go dig into your Infusionsoft account and get these stats dialed in. If you're not doing that, I'll be so bold as to say you're being negligent with your business, okay? You're driving your car down the street with your eyes shut. And that's dangerous. You don't want to do that. All right, so you've got to get familiar with Infusionsoft, how to create saved searches and reports. Then you've got to add those saved searches and reports to a custom statistics widget on your dashboard. So every time you log into Infusionsoft, the first thing you see is those stats, and you can look at them every day and know exactly what's going on in your business every single day. And as you do that, you want to make sure you cover where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. All right, so let's walk through a couple of important examples here with regards to your Infusionsoft dashboard. So I mentioned in the emails that I sent out that I would be sharing my personal dashboard. I'm going to show you 3 widgets that I keep on my dashboard that I look at pretty much every single day. So this is what I call the executive dashboard. This is the high-level health of our business, okay? So the first section there is where we're at. Now, I keep historical data on all this stuff in a spreadsheet. So I can see where we've been, with regards to all of these numbers in a spreadsheet. And I look at that every once in a while as well. But what I'm looking at on a daily basis is where we're at currently. So I need to know how many leads we have, how many opportunities we have month to date, and payments this month. Payments is essentially revenue, right? So those are like the three really important indicators for this current month for me to know how we're doing. Now, obviously, there's other stuff that I'm going to look at, but those are the three. If I'm rushed and I don't have much time, these are the three things I need to know all the time. I need to know how many leads are coming in, because if there's not enough, I've got to spin up some marketing. If there's not enough opportunities, then I might do a little conversion campaign to our existing list. And if payments are behind, then we might put out an offer to increase some sales. Okay, so I've got to know where each of those are at any given point in time. All right, the next section is our forecasting. This is looking into the future. I got to know where we're going. Okay, so our cash forecast. We'll talk through each of these in just a little bit, but cash forecast tells us how much we expect to bill this month from auto bills. So this is like subscriptions and payment plans and things like that that are already set to auto bill in Infusionsoft. All right, the next one, sales forecast. The sales forecast is how much we expect to bring in this month from new sales. And then the last one there is receivables. Those are overdue payments that we're hoping to be able to collect this month. You're not always going to collect every dime in your receivables, so you want to look at that, get familiar with it, and understand, okay, we've got, however much it is, 20 grand in receivables. We expect to be able to collect 10 of it, and so you can account for that in your forecasting. Okay? All right, and then the next section down, I've got affiliate payouts owed. So just as I know how much money is coming in, I need to know how much is going out as well. So we pay our affiliates each month, and I need to know how much we're going to pay them. 2016 payments collected, that needs to be updated now to 2017, but that's our annual goal, right? So even all month long, or all year long, as we close out each month, I'm looking at that annual goal. Are we on track to hit that annual goal? If we fall behind at all, then I'm going to have to make some adjustments in our plan. Okay. All right. Next one is our goal. So our mission as a company at BoxOut is to help 10,000 small businesses get results from marketing automation. That's our mission. We recite it as a team every single morning. So we need to track how we're doing against that goal, right? And so that number is right there on my dashboard, and I see it updated every single day. And then the last spot there, I usually keep open for kind of whatever our current promotion is. I just want to keep eyes on what's going on there. So we recently had our 2017 State of Infusionsoft address. Hopefully you saw that live on Facebook. But I like to keep track of how many people are registered and things like that. So I'll keep that number there. So if we're doing a webinar or some other big promotion, I'll usually remove the previous promotion and put in the new one right there, just so I can kind of keep eyes on that. All right, so that's dashboard widget number one, my executive dashboard. All right, next one is, it's labeled here high level, but really this is broadcast lists. So I keep my broadcast lists on hand so that I can broadcast any of our specific lists at any point in time. So I've got Infusionsoft users main list. So it's basically like everybody in our list who's an Infusionsoft user. Then we have that whole list minus the Double Your Sales Club. So our Double Your Sales Club members are people who pay us every month to be part of our membership. And sometimes I want to email all of the leads and exclude the people that are in our Double Your Sales Club, right? Next, we have Double Your Sales Club active members. That'll tell me how many members we have. And then the next one is the Double Your Sales Club broadcast list, because some of those members don't want to be emailed. So we take them off the list, and we have a separate list there. 12 hacks opt-ins, that's really shouldn't be part of this particular dashboard, really. It's kind of like the State of Infusionsoft address you saw earlier. It's just keeping tabs on a particular campaign. All right, and then we've got our affiliates. So our affiliates there, if I need to broadcast our affiliates, I can just click on that link, boom, send a broadcast. And then a separate list, which is called Dawn Patrol, which is our newsletter. So whenever we send out our newsletter, our Dawn Patrol newsletter, we just click on that number and go ahead and create the broadcast and send it out. And then I have another little report here, report no lead source. And so that tells me how many people we have in our database currently that don't have a lead source. That tells me that lead source tracking, for whatever reason, broke for those people. Usually it's just a matter of, the tracking isn't always perfect. So there's always kind of a couple of people in there, a handful of people, and I'll go in and manually try and figure out where they came from and set the lead source so that I can keep that down at 0, okay? And then the last one here is projects completed by month. And so we have sales goals, right? And let's just say that our goal for the month is, 200 grand. So say we want to sell 200 grand this month. Well, next month or the month after, we should be able to complete $200,000 worth of projects, right? So we sell $200,000 worth of projects, we've got to complete $2,000 worth of projects. If we don't complete them, then our fulfillment team is going to get backed up. And so we keep track of that as well. So you can see each month, December, January, February, March, of course, hasn't happened yet, so it's 0. But each month we're going to track how much in revenue did we actually complete. And that's got to stay on pace with our sales, or else we're going to put ourselves in a rough situation where we can't fulfill fast enough on our services, and clients aren't happy, of course, and we want to keep our clients happy. So we keep tabs on that, and we keep a very close eye on how well we're doing completing our projects. Okay, so let's dive into a couple of examples of how you would actually set up these saved searches if you haven't done this before. So I'm going to talk you through real quickly how to set up a saved search for new leads. Now, most people, new leads is basically any new contact in Infusionsoft. Now, if you're using Infusionsoft for other purposes, then you might need to filter this down with some tags as well. But basically, you're going to go to the main menu under Contacts. You're going to do a contact search. And in this contact search, you're going to go to the Miscellaneous Criteria tab, and you're going to scroll down on that tab till you find Date Created. And I like to use the Date Created interval. So I'll do Date Created interval month to date. So that way I can put that saved search on my dashboard, and no matter what day it is, it's going to tell me how many leads we have created that month so far. Right? So I don't have to edit date ranges or anything like that. It's just going to automatically keep rolling forward because it's a relative date range. Okay, so I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to search it, and here you can see that it found 114 people. And then I'm going to click the Save button right up here at the top. That Save button is going to pop up this little window, and I'm going to give that search a name. Now, if I'm using this for reporting purposes, which I am, I usually label it report : and then the name of the report. It's very important to use a good naming convention when naming these things, or else you're going to end up with a mess, just like most people do with their tags. Okay, so make sure you use a good naming convention. I'll call them report : whatever, customer service : whatever, sales : whatever, and that way I can keep them pretty well organized. All right, so I want this to be available to everyone, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. That's it at that point. Then I'm going to go to my Infusionsoft dashboard, and on the dashboard, I'm going to go ahead and click the Add Widgets button up there in the upper right-hand corner. That's going to bring me to this page. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to find the Custom Statistics widget, and I'm going to click the Add to Dashboard button over on the right. Once I do that, it's going to show me a box like this that needs me to do some things. So first, I need to determine, am I going to put a saved search in here, or am I going to put a saved report? That's the first option there at the top. In this case, it's a saved search. We did a saved search for new leads, which was a contact search. Once I do that, I'm going to select Count. Count shows us how many people are actually in that saved search, how many contact records are in there. And then I can skip categories, or I can choose categories if I want to drill it down just to contact searches. But if you've done good naming convention, then you can usually just jump to the last one. Please select a saved search. You select the one that you want, and then it'll just be added to your dashboard. Okay, so the next section then is, what about financial reports? This gets a little trickier. Okay, those aren't saved searches typically. They're saved reports. And there are a few little caveats, a few little gotchas in Infusionsoft that you got to watch out for to make sure that these financial reports are accurate. I get people all the time that reach out to us and say, hey, how come my reports in Infusionsoft don't match what's in Authorize.net? All my sales happen through Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft says I have $100,000 in sales, but Authorize.net says I only got $80,000, and my bank account says I only have $80,000 in the bank. So what in the world is going on? Well, let's talk through that. So first, let's go through orders versus payments. Most people will come in here and make the mistake of creating saved searches based on orders. Well, there's a problem with orders. Orders does not necessarily mean you have a payment. It just means there was an order. So let's say someone goes to your shopping cart and they put a few things in the shopping cart, they go to check out, and the payment fails. Well, it will create an order, and it will have a failed payment, and the failed payment can trigger some follow-up. But that order will be there as an unpaid order, an unpaid invoice. And it will show up in any order search that you do. So when you're trying to match up how much money actually came into the business, don't look at orders. You want to look at payments. Okay? And if you go to e-commerce, e-commerce reports, and then under there, there's payments search, or payments report. There's actually 3 payments reports. There's daily payments, monthly payments, and then one that just says payments report. I like to use the payments report the generic one, because then I can set any date range that I want. Okay, so that's what this is here. You have the payments report. You can see the first thing there is to select a date range of the payments that you want to look at here. So make sure you set the date range, and I'll usually go ahead and put it from the first of the month to the last of the month, and then I'll save it so that I can have that on my dashboard. But then at the beginning of each month, I'll have to go and change those dates. This one does not have a date interval like we saw with the contact search. Now, my understanding is Infusionsoft's working on making all of these things consistent, but for now we have to change those date ranges or those specific dates each time the date range passes. So put in your date range there where you're going to search. And then on the miscellaneous criteria tab, you need to look here at the pay type. Now, this is one area that gets people off as well in terms of the reports being accurate. You can see there's a bunch of pay types there. There's credit card manual, there's check, there's cash, money order, etc. But then we see these things like adjustment, credit card, credit, and refunds are down below, things like that. So what you want to do is you want to exclude at least one of these. You want to exclude the one that says credit, okay? And you probably want to exclude adjustment as well if yours has an adjustment. Now you can actually add more pay types to this list. So if you've added your own, then you'll have to determine which ones you need to exclude. Let me talk you through it. If someone purchases something, let's say with a credit card, they purchase your awesome widget, and then later you need to refund them. Okay, you have a money back guarantee. They call in and they say, hey, awesome widget's not working for me, and you refund it. There will be 3 line items in that invoice. One is for the first line item for the awesome widget saying, hey, this thing's $1,000, right? So now there's a balance due of $1,000. Then there will be their payment, okay? Their payment of $1,000. Now the invoice is zeroed out because the balance due plus the payment made, now it's back to 0, right? Now when you refund it, okay, there's going to be another line item there showing a refund. Now, depending on how you process the refund, if you leave it like that, then there will still be a balance due. But the default is to apply a credit to balance out that invoice and leave it so that they don't owe anything going forward. That's the default. So if you don't change it from the default, then every time when you process a refund, there's also going to be a credit in there. Okay. So when you look at the payments report, there's going to be the payment, there's going to be the refund, and there's going to be the credit. And so as you can tell, the payment and the refund are going to zero each other out, but then the credit is going to get you off in your accounting because that money didn't actually come or go. It's just an accounting function to zero out the invoice. So we want to make sure you exclude credits. If you're making manual adjustments on invoices to give people free money or whatever, then you're going to want to exclude adjustments either. But you want to include any payment coming in, and you want to include refunds because they will cancel each other out. The math does work in this report correctly. So once you do that, then you're going to come back to your dashboard. You're going to add this to your dashboard. And instead of doing a saved search, we're going to do a saved report. And as you can see there, the next item down is where we had count before. Here, we're going to select sum. We don't want a count of the records. I don't want to know how many payments there were. Now, you might, and you could set that up as a separate item on your dashboard. But I want to know the sum of the payment column, right? I want to know how much in payments total there has been this month. So I'm going to choose sum. Then I come down here to the actual save search, which is month-to-date payments. And then I'm going to check the column. I'm going to choose the column in that report that I want to sum up. And that column is the pay amount column. So once I do that, then that's going to show me my payments for that month. Okay? So next is forecasting. That's basic payment stuff. Now I want to see into the future. How do I do this? Well, let's break down the where we're going column. So we've got the sales forecast. What do you expect to close in new business? The cash forecast, which is payments set to automatically bill. So those are payment plans and our subscriptions. And then we've got receivables, overdue payments that you can collect on. All right, so those 3 are the main buckets you want to get onto your dashboard so you can forecast your revenue a little bit better. All right, so let's look at the forecast, sales forecast first. Sales forecast I do with opportunities. Now, not everyone uses opportunity records, but if you want to look at your sales forecast in a really detailed way, the best way to do it is to use the opportunity records. So I'm going to go to the opportunity search, standard opportunity search, and I'm going to go to the miscellaneous criteria page, and I'm going to look at the estimated close date interval. So I might put the estimated close date for this month, month to date. I want to know how much we expect to close in business this month, right? And then I'm also going to scroll down and I'm going to choose this option here, include in forecast, yes. Now, I train our sales team so that when they are working on an opportunity, when they're talking to a prospective client, when they are 90% sure that that client's going to close, they check the box on the opportunity record that says include in forecast. So that way they show up on this report. No opportunity will show up on this report until the sales rep checks that box, include in forecast. Okay, so that way the sales reps can manage that themselves based on how confident they are in that sale. Okay, so we're looking at the estimated close date. Sales rep also has to put in the estimated close date. So they're talking to the person says, yeah, I'll sign up on Friday. Great. They'll put in Friday's date into the estimated close date. They'll also check the box, include in forecast, and that will make it show up in our report. And then the column that we're looking at here is looking at the estimated total amount on the opportunity record, which the rep also has to fill in. Okay, so that's how we get our sales forecast all lined up. It's in conjunction with the save search and the sales reps. Those two things have to work together. All right, next is our cash forecast. This one's a little easier because there's a report in Infusionsoft. So go to e-commerce reports, and there's a report actually called the cash forecast report. And this one is really simple because all you do is you just put in the dates. And this one can only be run on future dates. So I'll usually put in at the beginning of the month, I'll put the first of the month, and then I'll put the last of the month for that date range, and I'll hit search. But every time you look at this report, as you come back to it, you need to adjust the date. Because if it has that date in the past for the first of the month, it'll actually get a little bit off. The report will be slightly off. So you need to update that first date always and make sure it's today's date or tomorrow's date. It has to be in the future. And then the last day of the month or whenever you want that search to end, okay? All right, and then of course you'll just save that and put it on your dashboard as well. And next is receivables. Now in Infusionsoft, there is another report, so e-commerce reports, and there's a report called receivables. Now same thing here, you've got a date due, so you can search based on date due. The problem with doing it that way is that you're going to ignore unintentionally other receivables or other overdue invoices that might have popped up or that might have been before that date range. So general best practice is to actually not put a date range on this. Now there's also a 30, 60, 90-day report, so you can look at it by how much do we have that's 30 days overdue versus 60 days overdue versus 90 days overdue. So you can look at that as well. But I like to just get this basic view of how much do we have in receivables. And then when you get to the point where you're not going to collect that money, it's lost, then you can go ahead and go into that invoice and apply an adjustment to zero that one out, get it off of the receivables report, and keep your receivables pretty clean. So your receivables mainly contains things that you're pretty hopeful that you're going to be able to collect. Okay, so again, you search it, you save the search, and you add that search to your dashboard, and you end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so one other thing I want to go over here before we get to questions is custom reports with custom fields. Now, I showed you earlier that little dashboard of our projects that we close out each month and how we want to keep those on pace with sales. It looks like this. So projects completed each month, and it's not the number of projects, it's actually the revenue of those projects. We need to keep that revenue of projects that we're completing on pace with our revenue that we're bringing in the door. Okay, so the way we do this is actually an order search. So I talked about order searches earlier and I said, hey, don't use those. Well, don't use them to track your revenue, right? But here, there's an order always created for every new client that we bring in the door. And there's a revenue amount associated with that order, of course. And so what we do is we create a custom field on the order record that we can utilize to put in a date of when that project is closed out. So it is a little bit manual. As soon as we close out a project, someone has to hop in and populate that date and hit save. It doesn't take very long, super fast and easy. But then we can run a save search. Okay, so we have this project close date, which is the custom field. So if someone on our team hops in and puts in the date, say they close out a project today, they put today's date and they save that order again. And then in this save search, we can put some date ranges here. So we can say, all right, I want to know how much we closed out between February 1st and February 28th. So I'll just create that as a save search. And then when I add it to the dashboard, I'll call that, well, I'll just label that one February, project closed out in February. And then I'll do a sum. I'll do a sum of the amount column in the order record, right? I don't necessarily need to know the dates. I need to know how much was the order for, right? And so I'll sum that column up and put it on the dashboard as well. So that is what I wanted to cover with you today. But don't forget the three main categories: where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. So write those down. Make sure that when you are looking at your stats, your dashboard, you've got those things covered so that you can avoid the problem that I had at Hazard Canyon Reef and be totally lost because you don't know where you are. And you want to make sure that when you're driving down that path, you've got all those gauges at your disposal, just like in a car. You need to know how much gas, how fast you're using the gas, how many miles you have to go, your engine temperature, all those different things so that you can drive your business forward in a healthy and profitable way. So one other thing I want to mention is I highly recommend a tool called Graphly. So if you go to boxoutmarketing.com/Graphly, you'll be directed to their website. Graphly is a great tool. It's what we used with this client that I showed you earlier, these pretty graphs. In Infusionsoft, there's not a great way to visualize the data. You can put all the data on your dashboard, which is great, but you can't see historical charts over time like this. And Graphly has created a great solution that does that. So boxoutmarketing.com/Graphly if you want to check that out. It's a great tool. Highly recommend it. Lastly, we are running a promotion between now and the end of this week where you can come to our complete customer lifecycle workshop for only $2,499. We have historically sold access to this workshop for $5,000. It is a 2-day workshop where you're going to come and you're going to learn what we call the way. Now, this is the right way to implement Infusionsoft. We have a whole systemized way of doing it that helps you keep tags organized, campaigns organized, and really makes your Infusionsoft life a whole lot more enjoyable. It also makes it super, super easy to understand. I meet a lot of people that say, oh, I'm confused by Infusionsoft. They'll call it Confusionsoft, whatever. And that's just because they've been taught wrong. When you learn the way, you will look at Infusionsoft in a whole new light. All of a sudden, it becomes easy to you. And you go, oh, wow. But the real reason you want to come to the complete customer lifecycle workshop is because in those 2 days, we're going to build your complete customer lifecycle. We're going to build out your lead generation process, your indoctrination campaign, your conversion campaign, your sales campaigns, your upsell campaign, and your referral campaign. All of that as one seamless experience and process for you and for your prospects and clients. And so that framework will all be built out. You'll walk away from that workshop with those campaigns all built and launched. We have a lot of people who actually launch their campaigns at the workshop, and then we celebrate, because we'll see leads coming in or we'll see sales coming in and things like that. So we'll have little celebrations at the workshop when that happens. But you'll walk away with all that stuff launched, or at least super, super close to launching, with our help, right? We're going to put all that together, but we're also going to train you so that you can manage that stuff going forward, and you can continue to build campaigns like that if you'd like to do it yourself, because we're going to arm you with everything you need to be able to do that quickly and efficiently. I'd say actually more quickly and more efficiently than you've ever seen before. So go to boxoutmarketing.com/CCL workshop if you're interested in attending the workshop. Again, we're giving you a discount, $2,499. It's right, the next one that's coming up is right after traffic and conversion. So if you're coming to San Diego already for the traffic and conversion event, then this is perfect. You just stay a couple of days after. We'll get all this done and cranked out for you, and then you'll be on your way and you'll be happy as a clam because all of your campaigns will be launched. So I'm just pulling up the dates here because I don't remember off the top of my head what the dates were. I think it's early March sometime. Let's see here. I can't remember. Here we go. It is March 13th and 14th. So I believe that's a Monday, Tuesday. I believe traffic and conversion is the weekend before that. So Monday, Tuesday, March 13th and 14th. If you're interested, I promise you that this will be the best experience you've ever had with Infusionsoft. Only $2,499 for 2 full days building and launching those campaigns and getting trained in the meantime. This will be about the 6th or 7th workshop that we've done. You can watch the video reviews on that page of the people who have attended in the past, and you'll see that every single one of them absolutely loved it. All right, so we'd love to see you there. Lastly, let's open it up to Q&A. I'd love to hear what you're dealing with and the things that, the questions that you have about creating your Infusionsoft dashboard and getting your stats dialed in so that you can leverage those stats for growing your business. All right, Jamie has a great question. How do you do payments by product? All right, let's hop out of Keynote here and let's go over to Infusionsoft. And I'm going to go into e-commerce reports. Oh, looks like I got logged out while we were on there. Okay, so e-commerce reports. And we're going to do a payments report. And I'm going to clear that search out, do a new search. And you'll notice that in the miscellaneous criteria tab here, so miscellaneous criteria on the payments report, scroll down a little bit, there's product IDs. And so if I want this payment report only to be specific to a certain product, I can start selecting that product or multiple products here. So I'm going to put awesome widget in here, I'll put coaching subscription, and now that payments report is only going to be those 2 products. Okay? Does that make sense, Jamie? Hopefully that helped you out. Okay, Jamie's got another question here. Can you do by product for new customers, meaning it eliminates recurring payments and just counts first payment? Well, there's a couple of different ways you can do that, Jamie. You've got to kind of determine what's best for you. So let's come in here. The best way, truthfully, the best way is to use the API. So that's not the answer you wanted to hear. But the best way is to use the API, and you can identify if payments came from a subscription plan or not, which is pretty cool. But let's go to your e-commerce reports here. Trying to remember so many things in here that aren't super valuable. Here you go. Here's subscription revenue summary. And so you can look at subscription revenue. And so one way to do it is going to be to just get like the total revenue on your dashboard using the payment search, and then look at subscription revenue and get a total of that. And then you'll actually have to subtract, right? And so that would basically be what we call one-time revenue, or from an initial purchase. So that's probably the easiest way through the interface. But like I said, through the API, I personally feel super, super confident in that data because I know exactly what parameters I can pull through the API. All right. Hey, just a note as well regarding Graphly. There are a bunch of new customer reports. So Jamie, to kind of answer your question here, if you go to graphly.io/new-customers, they've got some new reports here to help you identify those new customers and the revenue from new customers, value of new customers, and all that kind of stuff. So they've just released some new reports here. And this is actually just yesterday that this was posted by Jared. So Jared, thanks for letting me know. I did see the email about that, but I didn't look into the details. So yeah, and that's another thing that you'll notice too, that a lot of this data is in Infusionsoft, but analyzing it in Infusionsoft isn't always the easiest thing. So through the API and definitely with Graphly, you can zero in on that data in a great way. So again, definitely recommend Graphly, boxoutmarketing.com/Graphly. All right, here. All right, I'm scrolling through all the comments. There's tons and tons of questions and comments, and Ben says I went silent. So hopefully that wasn't very long. Maybe it was just for Ben. I'm hoping that you guys were able to hear me throughout. That was earlier on in the webinar. All right, Wayne is asking, how do you do your lead tracking? Do you track the very first lead source a prospect came in? If originally they came in via Facebook, but then after 1 year they came in via referral, would you override the lead source? Okay, so Wayne, great question. What I would encourage you to do is log into our membership site. You all have a login, and if you didn't know that yet, that's fine, you do. We've created a login for you. And I'm going to encourage you to come in here and go to our tools and go to ROI Tracker. It's a free tool. So anyone who's registered on our site anywhere should have a login. Even if it wasn't emailed to you, just go and click the forgot my password and it'll send it to you. And then go to tools. Okay, go to tools right here. And the tool in the upper right is called ROI Tracker. This is what we use for lead source tracking. All right. It's a little JavaScript snippet that you're going to put on your website, and it's going to help your lead source tracking in Infusionsoft be enhanced and much more clear. But the most important thing here, to answer your question, Wayne, is click on this help video. It'll drop you down here. There's actually 2 videos. There's one that explains lead source tracking in Infusionsoft in general, which is this one. It says one of the most powerful features in Infusionsoft. And then this one down here, which actually explains the tool itself. But in there, you'll learn that Infusionsoft lead source, the field itself, is different and special compared to all other fields. And it's different in the sense that once it is set, it will not get overridden unless you do it manually in Infusionsoft. So as people come in and fill out more forms, buy new stuff or whatever, it will not be overridden. That is the way it's designed to be used. And I would argue as a marketer, that's what you want to know most importantly. If I have paying customers and I want to grow my business, well, I want to find more paying customers. So the question I want answered is, where do I go find more of those paying customers? Well, that person was originally found on Facebook, right? The example you gave. Later, they came in through something else, but I originally captured them as a lead through Facebook. So if I need to recreate that, I've got to go to Facebook first and find more of those, bring them in. They might convert a year later. That's okay. But I need to bring them in the same way because I know that was a high quality source of leads because those people ended up buying stuff. All right, Simone, if you don't use e-commerce and Infusionsoft, is there a way you track purchases through your API? Well, let's go over to Infusionsoft. There are a few different versions of Infusionsoft. The very basic version, you're not going to be able to track any of that kind of stuff in Infusionsoft. So let's pull these up here. So the essentials that just has CRM and marketing automation, there is no ability to track any kind of sale in there, even through the API. Okay. Now, if you have deluxe, even if it's deluxe sales, or you have deluxe e-commerce, of course, or complete, or team, whatever, all of those will give you the ability to track some kind of sales. So deluxe assumes you're selling through a sales team. Okay, the deluxe sales automation assumes you're selling through a sales team. So the sales will be processed manually in there. You won't have a shopping cart and you won't have order forms, but a sales rep can process it manually. And those fields are also available through the API. So if you're using, say, Shopify as your shopping cart and you're using Revenue Conduit to connect the two, it will be able to bring over that e-commerce data into your Infusionsoft account. Okay, and then of course any of the other options have e-commerce, and so all of that is available as well. All right, Michael is asking, how can you see the yield, aka click-through rate, for various emails, campaigns in order to identify the bottleneck you mentioned? Okay, great question. Let me take you into actually our own account here. We'll lift up the covers just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to bring you into our indoctrination campaign. All right, so we've got 671 people currently in our indoctrination sequence. Now, we'll see, we've had kind of a big influx recently because of the State of Infusionsoft address, so we'll see if the data is still holding true. But I recently updated this. You can see on the 11th of January, this was our old sequence down here, and I put a new sequence up here. So let's take a look at this here. We'll flip it over into reporting view, and I'm going to go into last 30 days. And let's go into the old one. What I want to see here is the open and click rate on the first email in the old sequence. So this shows me here. The open rate, 28.6%, click rate, 14.3%. Now this data is, let's say it's dwindling, right? Because as more and more time goes by, less and less people are within that 30-day range. So it's becoming a little less accurate. We were kind of tracking it pretty consistently at just over 20% opens and actually closer to about 11% clicks. But the new version, so we go into our new indoctrination sequence here, new version, 62.8% opens and 21.3% clicks, okay? So here, if you're looking at a sequence like this, I've got 3 emails in this sequence, you might be able to identify a bottleneck. Hey, which email is getting the worst opens and the worst clicks, etc. Now here it's operating about the way I would expect, but clicks on email 3 is really low. So that's an area where I'm going to work on that. Now that's also a very direct call to action, like, hey, go request a consultation with us. And not everyone's ready for a consultation now. But I think there's some things we can do to improve that, where these ones are operating a little bit better in terms of engagement there. So that's how you do it, right? Just go into reporting view in your campaign, go to last 30 days, and you can view the emails in a sequence to see how they're doing. That's probably the best way to look and try and identify bottlenecks. Now, the bottlenecks I was referring to earlier are more kind of the big high-level bottlenecks, right? If I can see visitors on the website and then leads and then opportunities and then sales, I can look at that alone and say, okay, traffic's good, leads are good, opportunities good, sales bad, right? Okay, there's the bottleneck. We're bringing people in, we got leads, they're interested, but for some reason we're not closing them. Or I might see, hey, traffic's good, leads good, but no one's requesting a consultation. What can we do to make that more enticing? What can we do to improve that part of the process? And so I was referring more to those kind of high-level bottlenecks that are really going to direct your most important activities. Now, once you've got all that really dialed in and you feel like you've got it optimized pretty well, the next place to go is exactly here, right? Within a sequence or within one of those processes, let's look at all the little steps. Let's look at the the landing page, and maybe we split test 4 different landing pages to see if we can get better conversion. Let's look at the emails and see if we can get better clicks and better activity there. So definitely that's the way I would look at it. Look at the high level first and then drill down into the minutia. Oh, whoops. Simone, I accidentally just deleted a comment or a question that you had. So I apologize. If I hadn't covered it yet, go ahead and post it back in there. All right, Wayne's got a follow-up. Slightly more complicated. If someone comes onto your website via Facebook on the Monday, then calls you on the Wednesday, and at this point they are not in your infusion, they scheduled an appointment over the phone, so you add them to Infusionsoft. So I assume you're still asking about lead source tracking, right? Well, at that point, if they're not in your Infusionsoft and they've called in, I would make sure that everyone who answers your phone is forced to ask the question, hey, how did you hear about us, right? And so you might be running 4 different ads or 4 different campaigns in Facebook with 3 different ads each. And so you want to really drill into that. You're not likely to get that level of information over the phone, but if at least you knew it came from Facebook versus somewhere else, then that's better than nothing. So I would train your staff to always ask the question. In fact, I would use internal forms in Infusionsoft for your staff to enter in those new leads and have lead source required. So if we go back out here, I'll show you in our business. Whenever we have a new lead that comes in that's not in Infusionsoft, either they email us or they call us, then we fill out this new lead form. And lead source is a required field. You cannot fill out this form without selecting the lead source. And so that's one way that we handle that, Wayne. Dominique's asking about login to Box Out Marketing. Yeah, so if you haven't seen that yet, go ahead and do this. So Dominique, just go and click on the login button here, and then go ahead and click Forgot Password. And you can put in your email address there, and it should email you your password. If for some reason that doesn't work, then just shoot me an email, tyler@boxoutmarketing.com, and make sure you get taken care of. Okay. All right. So Wayne, follow up more here. They say they found you on Google. If you sent them an appointment, an email, and got them back to your website, would the visitor data match them to the record on Monday and populate the lead source with the previous source, Facebook? Okay, so that was continued question. Sorry, I got mixed up with other questions. I follow what you're saying. So they came on Facebook, but they didn't opt in. They called. they told you, hey, yeah, I searched you on Google, which they might have. And then later they come back to the website, they fill out the form, their cookie still says Facebook, right? Well, if you manually set their lead source as Google, and then they fill it out and they fill out a form later and their cookie is Facebook, it's not going to override it. Remember, the lead source does not get overridden. So it does get a little bit muddy in those situations. It's not perfect to track, but the majority of the time you're going to get it right. All right, Dominique is asking, do you have any suggestions on tracking for affiliates? Yes, absolutely. Use the Infusionsoft affiliate module. It's actually really, really good. We work with clients occasionally that are using other third-party systems. They're a pain in the neck. I love it when we work with a client that says, yeah, we're using the Infusionsoft shopping cart and we're using Infusionsoft affiliate tracking. Because guess what? It just works. It just works super simply. It works really well. We don't have problems with it. With some of these third-party systems, you run a promotion, then you go back and like, oh, shoot, the tracking didn't work. Well, it doesn't work because the systems aren't necessarily all designed to work together. And it requires all kinds of technical setup and everything. So I definitely recommend using Infusionsoft's built-in affiliate system. Okay, Nat, joining just a tad late. Sorry, Nat. Looks like in Brisbane the timing was just a little bit off. Sorry, yes, there will be a recording. As long as the recording saves and works correctly, I'll get it to you. All right, Wayne's asking, can it pull the original source using the visitor profile? Yeah, it may be there, but it may not. So let me pull up my record here and show you, or show others who may not know what you're talking about. Go into the contact record and go to the web profile here. And Infusionsoft tracking is not perfect, and neither is Google Analytics tracking or whatever, but you might find in here the referring domain. So you can see here, original referrer. So my original referrer was tylergardens.com/lp/freedom. That was the URL I came from, even though, probably most of my activity is on boxoutmarketing.com. So yeah, it should find it there as long as it tracked correctly, Wayne. All right, Tim is asking, do you use Customer Hub for this membership or something else? Nope, we use Memberium. So if you're interested in Memberium, you can go to boxoutmarketing.com/Memberium. It is a WordPress plugin, highly recommended, super flexible, amazing functionality. We basically can do whatever we want with Memberium. We set it up for our clients all the time, and it's really a great, great system. All right, Travis, this might be very basic, but I'm new to Infusionsoft. What is the best way to make sure people on my list get into my campaigns? I have some from you and some from 6th Division, but I'm not sure how to push the list into nurture campaigns. Okay, not sure I'm following all of that, Travis, but it sounds like you've got them opting in, then you want to make sure they flow into campaigns. Okay, so let me just give a real quick overview here. You'll see that my campaigns are all labeled with a stage, right? There's stage 1, there's stage 3, there's stage 5, whatever. So there's 7 stages in the customer lifecycle. Stage 1 is lead generation. Stage 2, indoctrination. Stage 3, conversion. Stage 4, sales. Stage 5, fulfillment. Stage 6, upsell. Stage 7, referrals. So all of our campaigns, we organize them by stage, okay? So any stage 1 campaign, it better at the end of that campaign have a tag that achieves a goal in our indoctrination campaign. Okay, so let's open up one here, our recent State of Infusionsoft address. Okay, if you registered for our State of Infusionsoft address, then you filled out this form. You got some reminders about it, etc., and then we had a direct link go out to the Facebook Live. But what you'll see here at the beginning is a tag, trigger BOM, which is Box Out Marketing, BOM indoctrination start. So that tells me that this tag is going to trigger the start of the indoctrination campaign. Okay. Now, so that tag was applied right here in that sequence after filling out the form. Now, if we go back here to our campaigns, go to indoctrination, that tag is the one in this goal here. Okay, so this goal is looking for people to get that tag. And when they get that tag, that same one, then that goal is achieved and they start into this indoctrination campaign here. Okay, so that's how we move them from one campaign to the next, usually is by applying a tag and then having a tag goal in the other campaign that picks it up when the tag is applied. Now, some also might be started from a purchase, right? A fulfillment campaign might be started from a purchase instead of a campaign. And so whether it's a tag or a purchase or whatever, they're going to jump from one campaign to the next through goals, right? So the goal has to be achieved, and then it pulls them into that next campaign. So we're not going to go into full detailed campaign builder training right now, but that should give you the basics there, Travis. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you out. Okay, Dominique, do you have any advice on the key things we need to make sure the affiliate portal has to be effective for our affiliate partners? Okay, depends on what level you're playing at here. If you're playing at a level where you've got lots of affiliates, they're generating tons of revenue for you, I would invest in building a custom affiliate center inside of a WordPress membership site using Memberium. One of the features that Memberium is going to be coming out with soon is affiliate leaderboards, which is kind of cool. But you can, even before that feature is out, you can build a full affiliate resource center in there pretty easily using Memberium. We can help you do that if you're interested. And it's much better than doing it in the Infusionsoft system because the Infusionsoft system is not customizable. And so I would do it that way. But at the very most, an affiliate should see how many leads they've generated, and they should see how many sales they've generated, or number of orders, as well as the dollar amount. And then they should be able to see their commissions. They should see the commissions they've earned, and then the commissions that are owed, right? So they may have earned $100, but you've paid 50, so they're owed 50. Those are kind of the key things that they should be able to see. And then once there's a leaderboard functionality available in Memberium, that'll be great too, because that's incentivizing to people when you've got a leaderboard and they're number 4th in line, and they know that there's a bonus associated with being, in the top 3. All right, Nat, you may have already covered this, but we're trying to work out the best way to see current pipeline value, but we don't use the commerce to process sales. Is the best idea to assign a dollar value for each product and then get salespeople to say 3,500 units if the sale fee is $3,500? Does that make sense? You're getting into a little bit of details there, Nat, that we didn't cover, but we did cover kind of some of that idea. So when you watch the recording, you'll be able to see that. When you say you're not using e-commerce to process sales, it sounds like you might be using opportunity records. If you're using opportunity records there, then there's a better way to do it. So let me know there if you're using opportunity records, and I might be able to take a minute and kind of show you behind the scenes on that. Okay, so many questions. Tyler, hi, this is not the right time, but looking for the conversion from legacy emails to the new email builder. Do you have a short video working through the process so I can pass to someone else showing the process? We are going to cover that, Peter, in our next weekly workshop, which will be next Wednesday. That's for Double Your Sales Club members only. So if you're not in the Double Your Sales Club and you're interested in having some ongoing support and training with Infusionsoft, that's something to check out. Reach out to us and let us know you're interested. We'd be happy to give you the details on that. But yeah, Peter, I might be able to just shoot you over a little video quickly after this to walk you through that. It's really pretty easy, pretty straightforward. All right, Wayne is asking, do you use broadcast? Do you prefer to use Campaign Builder like with State of Infusionsoft? We do broadcast all the time, but we also do campaigns. I'll do campaigns as much as possible. I will do broadcasts when we send like our newsletter and things like that. But anytime it's part of a campaign or a process where we're trying to get people to do something, register for the webinar, show up for the webinar, etc., then I'll use a campaign. If it's just information, like a newsletter, then I'll just use a broadcast. All right, Michael, good question here. You showed how to see the conversion rate of campaigns in the current month. I have campaigns that have been running for many months, years even. How can I go back to see the flow of opt-ins and conversions to sales month by month or week by week in the past? Okay, so the campaign builder reporting is not great beyond 30 days. So hopefully, Michael, you've been applying tags. If you've been applying tags at the important steps along the way in your campaigns, then good news, all the data is in Infusionsoft in your tag data, and Graphly would be a great tool to help you pull all that data into some really cool reports and see historically what's been going on. If you haven't been applying tags, then you can pull some data on some of the key points in the campaign. So if you have people filling out a form, and then they're driven to another form, and then they're driven to a sale, you can pull all of that data based on date ranges as well. It might be a little tedious, or again, if you're using Graphly, then you can pull all that data into some beautiful charts. But yeah, you can pull that data. The data in the campaign sequences is only stored for 30 days in the campaign builder reports. All right, Nat, not using opportunity records. So yeah, then you would have to do something like what you're saying. Just set a dollar value in like a custom field or something. Okay. All right, Akemba, I have a metrics dashboard and it lists leads from different areas. Would it be advantageous to use the month-to-date lead metrics you talked about? Not sure I fully understand the question, Akemba. I might be missing something there. I always think it's helpful to see the month-to-date data so you can see how you're doing, how you're tracking in the current month. All right, Jamie, applying notes on opportunity records seems very user unfriendly. Any tips for salespeople? Yeah, so the tip is to use note templates and to not use the notes field in the opportunity record. So I'm going to go to opportunities here. Actually, let me just do this in a different account so that we don't compromise anybody's personal information here. So this is a dummy account. So we'll go to opportunities, do a search. So keep it in interactive view, right? And right from here, this interactive view, I can hover over any opportunity and apply a note right here, okay? So that one doesn't have a contact because it's been deleted. Let's see, again, it's a dummy account. But here, I'll click on this one, and I can just hit add note, and add my note, and then all the historical notes will be listed out right down here with date and user, so you know who did it and when they did it and what's going on. So I would definitely encourage you to use those notes right there instead of, you go into an opportunity record and there's a couple different areas for notes, right? It's really kind of weird. Whoops, let me go into this one here. So there's opportunity notes over here, and there's next follow-up action. If you want to keep like a next follow-up action, I'll sometimes do that where it's like, maybe this person told me about their dog, and their dog's name is the same name as my dog when I was a kid or something. I might make a note of that just so I remember when I call them again. But any important notes, I want to show up down here in the notes section. And I don't typically operate from this view because scrolling down to the notes is kind of a pain. And so I'll use the interactive view, which I showed you earlier, where you can set all the fields that you want, so you can access all the things that you need to right here, and then you've got notes, you've got order history, you got campaign history, you got everything you need right there. You can do internal forms if you need to fill out internal forms. All of it's right there accessible. All right, Tim's, do you offer training on how to set up your campaigns in Campaign Builder, short of going to the workshop? We will, Tim. At Icon, we're going to be launching a full Infusionsoft training, the most comprehensive training that's ever been created for Infusionsoft. Until then, your best bet is the workshop. And then outside of that, if you wanted to join the Double Your Sales Club, we have some training in there as well. It's not the full extensive system that we're in the process of building, but there is some great training there. All right, Michael says he has been applying tags, so great. You should be able to get all the reports you need out of Graphly. All right, Michael, how would I see the creation and closing of opportunities over time, week by week or month by month? Great. So edit criteria and go to the opportunity tab and date created. So you can do your date ranges there to see how many were created in the date ranges, and then close date is right here. Okay, so date created and close date, you can run your safe searches on those. Close date is going to be closed when they're either won or lost, okay? And those are identified, the stages of those are identified in your settings. So go to CRM settings, go to opportunity defaults, and you can do your win stage and your loss stage right there. So that'll tell you that they were closed out. They're closed when they're either won or lost. Okay, I think we have covered all the questions, and we're way over time, but thanks for hanging in there with me. Hopefully this was helpful to you. We did record this session. It will be available inside of our membership site in the free section for all of you who have the basic free membership. We'll get that out to you in the next day or two, so stay tuned. And definitely check out our Complete Customer Lifecycle Workshop. Go to boxoutmarketing.com/CCL workshop. That will be the fastest, easiest way to get your campaigns up and running and launched in 48 hours. You'll be blown away. I'll give you a money-back guarantee that if you come to that workshop and you don't like it, refund your money. Hands down, it will be the best experience you've ever had with Infusionsoft. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.